gotta mute the YouTube so that I don't get so I don't get the echo.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Having fun there, buddy? Playing with your new buttons?
Trying to see what works.
For the little nobody that's listening, playing your buttons? See, I hear that now on your end. Now I've got double toil and trouble. Did I get it? Yes, I do have it.
Okay, let's get this started.
Oh, we're here? We're doing this?
We're doing it.
The music's over?
Not yet. About to be.
Jeez.
Welcome to Haunted Hangover Live, episode 8. And I'm playing
done more of these.
Yes.
We've done more live episodes than pre-recorded episodes. I feel like we might be getting good at this.
I don't know about all that, but
Right, well, fuck you.
No, we've done more pre-recorded episodes than live ones.
No, I meant like the haunted halls. That was.
Oh, well, those. Well, yeah, you're right. Well, no, haunted halls.
Well, the other pre-recorded episodes, those were segments that existed before me. So of course you did more, though. You know, I'm not going to count those. But
we're here. I'm Louie,
here.
joined by Manny.
A little queer.
There you go.
We're here. We're a little queer. We're not going anywhere.
And I
because you got the stream right this time. We didn't have to switch it.
Yes, I didn't mess up the link.
Listen, small victories add up to the war. Yeah.
And I'm still, even now, still using more new equipment to learn.
It's like an alien movie. Every movie we got to give the aliens another special power or something. So every episode you have something new. You're slowly growing. One day you'll be the queen. How does that?
Yes, I can't wait to be the queen. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And I'm just sitting here fermenting. Oh, but yes, we have a new setup here once again. Not even waiting for episode 10 to try new shit out. So we're like, you know what? Episode 8 got some sound effects. If you're listening to the pre-roll where me and Manny just confirm that everything is rolling, I'm trying to mess around with different kind of sound bites and sound effects for these live shows because that's fun. So
having a soundboard and little
yes. And you know what? We're gonna play one now for the hell of it. Here we go. It's my boy.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Trick or treat, motherfucker. Our boy Busta Rhymes from the classic film Halloween Resurrection.
And I saw somebody else. There was a little meme going around. I can't quote it because I don't remember exactly, but it's exactly what I said. When the Halloween 2018 came out, and then Halloween Kills came out, and Halloween Ends came out, and everybody said those movies were terrible, and I said, have you seen Michael Myers get his ass kicked by Busta Rhymes? Because if you have, and you still maintain that the new movies suck, you're out of your fucking mind. Absolutely out of your fucking mind.
Listen.
Because that was the lowest of low points for the entire series. That was kicking dirt kicking like garbage. Come on.
As terrible as that movie is,
Yeah, we love it.
there's still no. I wouldn't say I love it. It is to me. It is the worst film in the entire franchise. We covered it on Patreon. So Haunted Hangover Patreon. It was an entire hour dedicated to Halloween Resurrection.
Shitting on Halloween Resurrection.
Yes. No, actually,
I saw that piece of garbage in theaters.
So did I.
And goddamn, was I upset. And I didn't even like Michael Myers. I still went to see it, which made it even worse.
There you go. So there's our Halloween Resurrection minute there that we took just to show some love. You know what? Once again, here we go.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Buster Rhymes will officially become the third member of the Haunted Hangover Live episodes. I'm just going to get all the soundboards. All of them will just be quotes from Halloween Resurrection.
All of it.
All of it.
Josh Hartnett screaming as he cut his head off.
That's H2O, buddy. Wrong movie. He's LL Cool J.
No.
LL Cool J's in that one.
Well, no, because technically they didn't cut his head off in H2O. They cut his head off in Resurrection. In H2O, they were cutting off Michael Myers' head, and then they retconned it to make it him so that they could make another movie.
Well, no, it's a paramedic in the Resurrection film.
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
So, but no, yeah, we're here. We're not talking Michael Myers and Halloween. We're talking the new film, Cuckoo, which has come up on the. There you go. Manny has lifted up that ticket. I think three times.
Many times.
UNTLD. What's good, dude? I see you in the chat.
Well,
but yeah, you mentioned this back in April when you went to the Overlook Film Festival. You gave your spoiler-free review.
You few seconds,
like 5 minutes you could spend on it because the film at that point I don't even think we knew when it was coming out, or did we?
No,
I don't think
there was
so.
no. I really didn't want to. I didn't want to spoil anything, and now you've seen it.
Yes, I have.
And
seen
you
it.
see why it was so difficult to talk about it without spoiling it.
Yes, I agree.
There's just so many things, but
and then you mentioned it the last live as well. You were holding back. You didn't want to spoil it again, even though it was coming out. I think we did our last live maybe 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we knew, okay, it's coming out in a couple of weeks, and you were biting your tongue to make sure that you don't spoil Cuckoo. But the movie's been out for 3 days. So we're spoiling it here, and neither one of us. Manny does not know my thoughts on this film.
No idea how he feels. And that's good. I like that.
That is good. Little surprise there.
Yeah.
So there's that. You'll be pleasantly surprised, Manny, on the way I feel about this movie, or my thoughts on this film. Not negative. So don't worry. I'm not going to come here and say like, it sucked. Fuck Cuckoo.
If you did, then we were going to have a fun conversation.
Yes. John, I know it's you, dude. I see you in the chat, by the way.
I don't know who.
Manny doesn't know.
Thank you for introducing yourself, sir.
Actually, Manny, I think you met him many moons ago. You just don't remember. But yeah, John, Harlem. What's up, man? Thanks for just coming in and saying hi on the live show.
All of Harlem in the chat right now. He's represented.
He's
represented. You
representing all of Harlem.
Do it well.
New York on the live stream, 100%. But yes, Cuckoo, big time spoilers in this episode. If you have not seen the movie yet, we don't want to ruin it for you. I'm not gonna have me and Manny aren't gonna do like a short kind of spoiler-free review because Manny already did that back in April, so that'd be redundant. We're just gonna go right into spoilers. And now, since I've got sound effects, I can hit an annoying alarm as the spoiler warning alarm. Here we go.
I like that.
Let's see.
Opposed to
just us warning people.
As opposed to that we had last time.
Let's see. Let's see if this button works. Hopefully, all the listeners can hear it. Here is our spoiler warning alarm. That's kind of long, so I'll have to shorten it for future episodes. Here it is. Little long. I think you'd agree. Could be a little shorter there. So Cuckoo, Manny, since we already know, if you've been listening to this show, that this is, so far, it's currently August, your favorite film of 2023, favorite horror film of 2024.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to let you run this one.
Oh,
you're gonna break it all down. What's this movie about? Then we'll go into the cast and just our thoughts and who's it directed by. I will. Okay, so I'll help you right here. Tillman Singer.
Tillman Singer, yeah.
I am not that familiar with his previous film, which is like Lutz or Lulz. Lulz, yeah,
Luz. Yeah, I don't know how
yeah.
to pronounce it exactly. You know what's really interesting?
What?
I haven't seen Luz either.
Okay.
Short little. This was really good. First off, but Luz, I haven't seen it, and this is kind of a testament to possibly how good Cuckoo and why Cuckoo is so good. Luz, whatever, however you pronounce it, was Tillman Singer's senior thesis film.
Very talented guy. That's what that
Exactly.
tells me. So
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, wow, that was their senior thesis, and it's on Shutter right now.
all right. So you know what? I think
That's
I've
pretty-
seen the like art for it pop up
Yes.
and you're like featured films or whatever on Shutter.
Actually, it was on Shutter a while ago, and then it disappeared. Now it's back on Shutter, obviously because Cuckoo came out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, just for your senior thesis film to get like full worldwide distribution, I think it had I played big film festivals and and now to be on Shutter, like that's some talent. That's some talent.
And Cuckoo's a neon film, which they've been
Mm.
knocking it out of the park this year. They've got a lot of
Yep.
like they're like the go-to horror guys. They kind
are.
of bumped Blumhouse and well, no, I think Blumhouse works with them, right? They've got
In some ways, not like directly,
Okay.
maybe co-production type thing, but
I know
or
the new Oz
distribution.
Perkins movie is like I think it might be Neon and James Wan's.
Yes, the monkey.
Yeah. So
Stephen King, Oz
Yeah.
Perkins, and James Wan.
I did
Wow.
not know the guy shot basically 2 films back to back.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know the monkey was done. I knew he was doing the monkey,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that it was anywhere near done yet.
yeah,
That was surprising. When I went to see Cuckoo, they played the trailer.
yeah, same here. That's where
Yeah.
I
I
learned.
did-
Googled
yeah.
it right when I saw the trailer. I was like, God
Yeah.
damn, this guy's already got another movie coming out in the next 5 months. So
As soon as I saw
Crazy.
the monkey like fade, because I knew it was an Oz Perkins movie. I knew he was doing it. Like I just didn't know it was. As soon as I saw it fade in, I turned to Lynn. I was like, Oz Perkins doing Stephen King, and she said, "What?"
yeah,
She also had no idea that this was even happening, let alone done and ready to be released.
yeah. It's. I guess he was like, you know what? I'm gonna make 2 movies back to back, and that's basically what he did. I mean,
Yeah, I
he
mean-
didn't make a movie for a couple of years there, so that kind of makes sense. So Manny, Cuckoo, what's it about? Who's in it?
Dan Stevens drives Hunter Schafer Cuckoo. That's what the film's about.
That's the entire plot. I'm
That's it.
going to let you share with the audience the plot to Cuckoo so I can close
Oh.
my shade because the sunlight is
Suddenly,
peeking in there.
I see
so
it. I see you're glowing. You're glowing.
I'll let you go describe the film while I close my shade.
Okay.
Manny, take it away.
Okay. So, Cuckoo is about Hunter Schafer. Hunter Schafer she's the main character. She moves in with her father and stepmother and stepsister to a weird resort in Germany. Dan Schafer is the head of the resort. What is his name? Herr Koenig. Mr. Koenig is his name. Hunter Schafer plays Gretchen.
Yes.
The family is friends with Mr. Koenig from years ago. Gretchen's father is an architect of sorts. It's not really explained exactly what his job is, but it seems like he's some level of architect or building designer or something. And they move to this resort to help Mr. Koenig build a new resort. They're going to be, I guess, expanding it. Through the course of this, you learn that there is a some type of experimentation going on behind the scenes at this hotel. There's a very strange. There's one of the bungalows that they have. They have these little huts that are out there. One of the bungalows is called what is it? The Lovers House, I think they call it.
Yeah, it's like the pink house for
Yes.
newlyweds and
Yeah.
where they stay.
It's the Elvira suite, you know?
Yes. It's like it almost looks like a Barbie
Yes.
suite type deal.
Yeah, it's basically the honeymoon suite of the hotel, and it turn, and this is a hotel, like seems like up in the German Alps or something, like up in the mountains, and there's nothing but woods and everything around it. So they're essentially isolated. Think of like The Shining without the grandeur, you know? Um, so so Gretchen is now there, and Dan Stevens puts her on front desk duty because she's 17 years old. She needs something to do. We'll give her a job. I could use, he says, I could use another English speaking worker, someone who speaks English very fluently. We have a lot of clients that speak English, so this could help us. Um, and immediately he tells her, essentially, she finds out she can't go out, she not to go out at night. He tells her she was going to stay till 10 o'clock late one night. He's not going to schedule her late, but then she ends up staying late anyway, giving the other girl a break to go off on her, go out with her boyfriend. And when Koenig finds out, he says, no, I will be right there. Don't leave. Lock the door and wait for me to get there. And Gretchen, being the rebellious teenager that she is, leaves anyway. And by the time Koenig gets there, she's already gone, but the front doors of the resort are now open. Even though a moment earlier we just watched her lock the doors. So clearly something's going on. She goes off on her bike and goes down the hill, goes down the mountain as he's coming up the other side of the mountain. So the camera, it's really nice shot. Like the camera follows her and her bicycle this way, and then the camera kind of turns and you see the car coming up the other way. So they clearly did this in one shot where she locks the door, gets on her bike, rides off. He comes up, and now the doors are open when we turn back.
And I want you to pause right here for a second, because in my opinion, this entire sequence where she doesn't follow his orders, takes over for the colleague there, and ends up closing up on her own and riding in the bike to go home. That to me was my favorite sequence in the film. The entire, I know you haven't got to what happens when she leaves and she's riding down the mountain.
We're like 15 minutes into the movie.
But this entire sequence, in my opinion, is probably the most suspenseful sequence. Not knowing what's gonna happen to Gretchen. You know something. Obviously, we know something bad is gonna happen.
The audience feels that something's coming.
Yes, and and just even the setup with him putting his foot down, Dan Stevens putting his foot down. I too will butcher his name, so I'm just gonna call him Dan Stevens. Yeah,
I'm remembering Hauptmann Honig from Mannequin 2.
I'm gonna butcher it if I even attempt to say his name. But when you see him, when he tells her, don't work at night, don't ride your bike, don't be out past 10, you as the audience know something is wrong with this place. You already just know. And that sequence just leading to, her meeting the girl, the French girl and all that stuff, and then finally leaving, putting her headphones on and going down that hill in complete darkness. The use of shadows.
Oh my God.
The way they build the kind of resort itself, and the way that they're showing the kind of main office area, the lover's suite, the other houses. My favorite thing about the film is that the world building up until this point. Continue, because I know I want to talk about what happens after this, but I'm gonna let you continue.
What I on top of, during that, he calls her. He's calling her on the front desk phone, and she calls and says, and he says, "Where's the other?" And she says, "Oh, his tone of voice changes immediately."
Yeah.
And something's wrong, because he's been kind of dismissive of her, and you can tell there's something really weird about him. He was surprised that she was going to be there in the first place. He didn't know that she was moving with the family, so he was very surprised. In this moment, you can actually hear genuine concern. Like, his tone of voice changes. Like, wait, no, you shouldn't be there. The other girl, the reason why he was okay with the other girl, he says it earlier, the reason why he's okay with the other girl working late is because she has a car. So he is aware he knows that she's safe. She leaves, she gets in a car, she'll be just fine driving off. If Gretchen's going to take her bike, she's in danger.
She's out in the open.
Yeah. And the audience immediately learns this. And you know. So this is a moment that I think is in one of the trailers. From this moment is now we follow Gretchen on her bicycle, and there's a moment, the camera's on this again. The cinematography is just, it's so well put together and so well edited the way they did this, that there's these little things happening that are very subtle, and you miss it for a moment and then it becomes obvious. Um, where you see her from the side, and you can, like you said, that world building where you can see the resort passing behind her, and she's kind of mostly in darkness, other than the streetlights that she's riding underneath as she's on the road. But you can see the buildings behind them lit up, and all of them. And then you suddenly start to see, you see someone running. There's a figure running next to her, and it's far enough away where it just looks like someone running.
You can tell it looks like someone really bulky, I guess, is the kind of the way to, well, there's a reason why they look bulky, but kind of just like wearing stuff
Yeah.
and then running through. I think
Yeah.
the first shot, it's like the house. I think it's
Yeah.
the lover's house, and then like woods, and then them just kind of running past.
Yeah, and it just looks like somebody running. It's like you said, you really can't tell the shape.
Yeah.
Then the camera starts to go overhead as she passes under each street light, and her shadow moves with the light. And then each corresponding light, you start to notice another shadow behind her getting closer. And this is what I loved about that shot of the person running next to her, is that they were far enough away where you really can't tell how fast they're running. And now with this, you realize that that figure is running as fast as she is on the bicycle.
Yeah, it's the most artistic shot, I feel, of the entire film.
Oh,
in
God.
reality, like just the
Yeah.
whole setup of the street lights, her going down the hill, and then it's really just a hand reaching is what you see. Then she notices it and speeds
Yep.
up,
Yeah,
because
she
she
sees
knows
the shadow
something.
next to her.
Something is wrong when she's going down the hill to head home. So that again, going back to what I said before, that whole setup leading to that moment where the thing is chasing her down the hill. That to me, just overall, I think out of the
Amazing.
entire film, is probably the best scene. I think
It is.
out of the entire. In my opinion, I think
No,
it's the most
I
artistic.
mostly
the most,
agree with that.
It looks
I
like they
mostly
took
agree
the
with that.
most time figuring out how to shoot that entire sequence. So I think just looking at it,
No, I mostly agree with that. I think that that's the perfect place to take your time and really do this. So as she's going down the hill, she doesn't make it all the way back to their house. She ends up, there's a hospital, and she stops at the hospital and that's where she actually hits her head on the glass door. There's a little bit of a, let's not get too into the weeds on this. Basically, she gets inside, she hits her head on the glass door, gets this huge gash on her head, like she really smacks her head. And when I guess the nurse, or I mean, I say orderly. Usually, when you say orderly, you think of a guy.
yeah.
But it's a female orderly at the hospital who comes and gets her to let her in, and whoever was chasing her is now gone. And at that moment, I think there's an ambulance pulling up with some person, and they didn't see whoever was chasing her as well. So that leads to the next moment where the police are basically saying, I think you're the victim of a prank, and nobody wants to believe her. That kind of annoys me, not in the film, just being in that moment, like just making the cops so completely dismissive. I just hate that.
Well, it sort of
just
plays
annoy-
into the ending.
Oh, it does.
Yeah,
It does.
that's
it
why.
totally does.
Yeah.
It just, oh God, does it frustrate me, because I just want them to, if the cops are going to be dismissive, I want them to say something else. Please come up with something a little bit more creative than, I think you were the victim of a prank. Like, oh, come on. Who's pranking
I get
someone
what
like
you're-
that on a mountain at 3:00 in the morning? Like, that's not even a logical leap of,
No, I think initially when you see the cops and you meet the cop character, like there's two of them, I believe, if I remember correctly. There's
Yeah.
two cops. I felt the same way watching it. I was like, that's such an awkward
Exactly.
scene, but
Exactly.
but the whole film feels like that up until a certain point. I think that was done on purpose because of the ending. Because when you get to the finale, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
now I know why the cops were like brushing off the whole situation. So I think the first 30 minutes you're just lost, and the whole movie,
Which is intentional.
yeah, I think the setup of the whole film, that's done on purpose, where they want you to feel uncomfortable, they want you to be confused. And even towards the end, and when we get there, which I'm sure we'll get there soon because we don't want to go through every nook and cranny of this movie, but even the ending, I think they want you to kind of ask yourself, what the hell's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on? And when we get there, we'll discuss that
Yeah.
part of the film. But just again, we're talking about the setup here and just how the movie builds itself to this point. Where at that moment when the cops tell her like, "Hey, this is a prank," that's where the movie shifts drastically because she gets into 2 accidents. Like Hunter Schafer,
back,
the
yeah.
Gretchen character, gets so fucked up in the first 45 minutes, like falls off of the bike. No, not the well, not doesn't fall
No.
off the bike. Hits glass, hits
Yep.
the hospital glass door, then gets into a car accident later.
Oh,
So the entire film from that point on,
yeah.
is all beat up. It's kind of wild. Like that was strategically put into the script. Like Gretchen needs to be be all beat up the whole, like almost 3/4 of this film, which I did think was an interesting kind of just character arc for her in the movie. But continue.
So yes, just what you just said. Now the cops are doubting her, and everybody else is doubting her. I think she's a little nuts. At that moment in the hospital, she sees her father and stepmother in the hallway, and they are now bringing their little sister into the hospital. Little sister, through the course of the film, is suffering from some level of seizure. There's a moment where Gretchen is playing she's got a bass guitar and she's got her headphones on, she's got her back to the door, and the little girl comes into the room just to kind of listen because she wants to be friends with her new older sister, essentially. And Gretchen passes off the younger sister as, she's not my sister, she's a stepsister, but she passes her off, and the little girl clearly wants to bond with her in some way or another. So while Gretchen's playing her bass guitar, the little girl is standing behind her and goes into some level of seizure. This is the first moment where you really realize something's up here. As she's going through the seizure, time starts looping in like 4-second loops. There's this screeching sound that you hear distant in the woods through the course of the film. And now as she's having the seizure, you're hearing the screeching sound, almost like the screeching is triggering her seizure. So the little girl is just there, eyes rolling back and just shaking, standing there, while Gretchen is just playing the bass guitar, and the music keeps starting over. And that's for the audiences to see that there's a loop happening. And eventually at some point, she does realize that the girl is behind her. And when she turns to go to her, she scares her. The little girl, like, it scares her that she's behind her. She realizes she's having a seizure. She walks up to her, and as soon as she touches her, the little girl swipes at Gretchen and scratches her in the face, and she falls over. And the seizure is essentially over at that point. There's still some remnant of her just being kind of catatonic, and then the mother comes in, and so obviously something like this happened while Gretchen was working, and that's why she's now in the hospital. That's why the little girl is now being brought into the hospital. Your sister had a seizure, so what happened to you? Whatever. And this is where you see Gretchen now feeling like an outsider, feeling like she doesn't belong, because the father then becomes so concerned with the health of the young girl that, oh, Gretchen just fell and hit her head, and that's fine. It's not a big deal, because she does kind of play it off like that. But then the father takes that cue and goes back to it. My first review that I wrote months ago, like on my first Letterboxd review, said that Gretchen is Hunter Schafer plays one of the most stubborn and frustrating teenagers. She's a teenager. She perfectly plays this teenage, know-it-all. I'm, like, nobody's going to tell me what to do type of teenager, where, again, maybe it's kind of my age at this point, where I look at someone like her. I literally wrote that you're so annoyed with her that you want to reach through the screen and shake her and say, "What the fuck is wrong with you, you stupid brat?" You know?
Yeah,
And
it was done on purpose for sure.
no, I know
Yeah.
it was. I know. This is a compliment.
Yeah,
She does
yeah.
it so well that I wanted to shake her. She was just like, "Oh my god, you stupid fucking brat! What is wrong with you? The world doesn't revolve around you." You know. And that, again, it's a testament to how well she plays it, because she's so believable in it. That alone made me want to. I've never seen it, but I want to watch Euphoria just to see what she's, just to
She's
watch
great
her
on
character.
Euphoria. So Euphoria is a great show, and the character of Gretchen is interesting because, and one of my favorite scenes, and I can't think of another movie that has done this, at least recently has never done this sort of kind of gimmick where the character has a dead relative and they're calling the voicemail of the dead relative for comfort.
Session 9.
You're right. Session 9. There you go. Movie we covered completely.
Yep.
It's probably the only other one I can think of. You're right. Now
And that's a spoiler. Should have played your spoiler there.
Oh yeah, the long alarm again.
Hit the alarm. That's something you find out much later in the film.
Yeah, you find out later on, but it plays into the character being so unhappy and why the character is the way she is. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to be with her father. She doesn't like her father's new family. She doesn't, want to be in Germany. She doesn't want any of that. She doesn't want this entire life.
Choice.
But she has no choice. Exactly. So, and in the film, and I don't have the actor's name in front of me, but the father, there's not a lot to the role. There's a couple of sequences here and there where he talks to her and tries to comfort her. And like you said, little by little sort of forgets about her.
He plays Henry.
Yeah. Because he has a new younger daughter. And he even tells her, like, you're almost 18. You can't keep doing this shit. She's 9, so she needs us. So for me, that was the performance that Hunter Schafer, the Gretchen character, I think really drives this film. Outside of Dan Stevens, which I'm sure we're going to get to in a sec.
Yep.
But she really everyone else just sort of feels like a really small puzzle piece to a bigger puzzle.
And it is.
And they don't really, like the new stepmother doesn't really do much in the film. Even her new sister, the little girl, doesn't really, she's the MacGuffin really at a certain point while you're watching it. She's the object that everyone wants. And that's really the only... I have one other kind of con or something that I feel needed some work in the script of this movie, but I feel like you don't really get a sense of the dynamic of the family from Gretchen's perspective, but not the rest of the family. And that's kind of like, besides the father really saying a couple of lines here and there, you don't know what the other two really feel like. Well, the little sister a little, but like the stepmom, she just is like an evil stepmother. Would you agree?
Yes.
Like, there's not really much to those characters in the script.
No, I wouldn't say the mother is kind of... No, I wouldn't say that about the mother. No.
Okay.
I mean, thinking about it, like, no, the mother, unfortunately, doesn't really have much to do.
Yeah.
The mother is kind of...
The stepmother, let's clarify.
The stepmother,
there is a mother, but the mother's dead.
Yeah, the stepmother, I feel like the stepmother didn't have much of... She was just kind of there. You really don't get a sense of how she feels about Gretchen.
That's my point. Because I felt like when I was watching it, these characters, like her character felt so cookie cutter. The father, like if I had to go from 1 to 100 and 100 being like Hunter Schafer's performance is 100. Like the film rides on her character, on Gretchen. The other, like, the father's like a 75 5 maybe, not even, maybe like 65. And then the stepmother's like a 40. Like I feel like she just I just you didn't get the feeling that she was a horrible person or a good person in the way she treats Gretchen. And that I feel was kind of just one notch I lowered the notch a bit on the film because of the kind of the character development between the family. But again, it's not her story, it's Gretchen's story. And even Dan Stevens, as much as I love him in the film, he kind of takes a step back at a lot of points in the movie compared to something like, you know, we talked about Abigail. He's front and center in that. He is the antagonist. Spoiler again, he is the antagonist of that film. He is really literally the main bad guy of that movie. And then in Kong Godzilla, he's kind of just like the comedic kind of comedy relief in that film. But in this, it's interesting to kind of shift gears to the cast and Dan Stevens, because he's all over the marketing. It's literally Hunter Schafer, Dan Stevens. You watch the trailer, that is who you see. It's a cartoonish German like kind of accent that he's putting on, but it's so quirky and odd that you can't help but tell yourself this guy is loopy. And you know, we continue to say that this is the year that Dan Stevens plays all these eccentric characters. We said it last time, but it's true. Like in this, it's not as out there as Kong Godzilla, but he's not as much of a piece of shit.
I don't know. I wouldn't. I kind of put them on the same level.
You think so?
On a very similar level. They're not far.
You think so?
Not far. He's just as eccentric and weird.
I think in like Abigail, he's a piece of shit. Like I think he's from New York with his bad New York accent. He is just like a piece of shit human, like a piece of shit New York guy is what he is in Abigail. And Kong Godzilla, he's the eccentric Australian. In this, he's like the evil mad scientist German. You know, he's like the villain in like where I was going to say Werewolf Women of the SS, She-Wolf of the SS, or what's it called? Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Like almost like a character that would be running an all-women's camp in one of those movies. Did you get that vibe from him at all? And that's kind of what I loved about it. Like Dan Stevens could easily have been plucked out of a movie like this movie and put into one of those old exploitation movies. Yeah. And just be an evil German. Like, it would work perfectly.
There's an article on slashfilm.com going around that I kind of wanted to mention. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't.
It's called Every Freaky Little Weirdo Played by Cuckoo Actor Dan Stevens Ranked.
Okay.
And so it goes down to like the top 10. It's not every freaky, it's 10 of them. And I was actually surprised because holy shit, I did not realize it. So I'm actually going to do the list in reverse. We'll go through real quick because like we want to talk about Dan Stevens. He's fucking phenomenal.
Well, yeah, I don't mind.
We'll go through this real quick.
I'll talk about him whenever, man.
Yeah. Number 1 is The Guest. Number 2 is Cuckoo. Again, we're going backwards because it's actually a countdown. Number 2 is Cuckoo. Number 3 is Alexander Lemtov in the Eurovision Song Contest.
Never seen that.
Yeah, no, I don't know what this is. The Eurovision Song Contest, a story of fire saga. He's a lion lover and he hunts for love. I do not know what this thing is. I've never heard of it before this. So I'm going to have to look up what Eurovision Song Contest is. I don't know if it's a movie or I see the Netflix logo. It could be a show. I don't know. Then number 4, Godzilla vs. Kong the Trapper. Number 5 is from the Marvel TV series Legion. He plays Legion. Yes.
I watched the first season of that a long time. I never finished it.
Never seen it, but he plays Legion. I've never seen it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like him, Aubrey Plaza's in that. That was a good show. That first season was really good.
Number 6 is Frank and Abigail.
Okay.
Number 7 is the Aloe Glow Man from Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yes, that's a great episode.
Yes, he's in Anna Lily Amapour's episode.
Yes, he's on the TV. He's like the spokesperson for that brand. Yeah, that's great.
Now these next 3, I did not even realize was him.
Okay.
Number 1, well, actually, I'm going to go to number 10. Lancelot in Night at the Museum: Secret of the Tomb.
I've never seen that, so
I think it's the 3rd one.
Okay.
I've only seen the first 2, and it's the 3rd. He's in part 3.
Okay.
I don't care for these movies, but that alone, I want to see it now.
Now you want to watch a Night at the Museum sequel. Amazing.
Then I'll go to number 8 because number 9 is the one that surprised me the most. Number 8, he is the Beast in the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah, I saw that once for my cousin's
I had no
my
idea.
little cousin's birthday party, and I remember at the end when he became human, or when they showed him human, I was like, "Is that Dan Stevens?"
Mm-hmm.
And he is the Beast. Yeah, you're right.
I'm actually going to drop this link in the chat, so if anybody wants to see it, there is a link. There's a separate link there that you can see what he looks like in the Beast green screen suit. There's a photo of him there, and oh my god, it looks ridiculous.
Funny.
And it's got a picture. It's got video of the overlays and everything. So you see his whole everything that they did to create the CG Beast, which is actually really, really cool to see. And then number 9, which is the one that surprised me the most. Have you ever watched the show Solar Opposites, the cartoon on Hulu?
I have not. I know what it is, but I've never seen
Solar Opposites was created by Justin Roiland from Rick and Morty.
it. Yeah.
And then Justin Roiland played the lead characters and a couple other voices. And then he had those sexual misconduct
Yeah. He quit.
allegations,
Everything,
and Hulu said, "Okay, you got to go,"
Yeah.
and they kicked him off his show. He was the lead actor. He was the main character. Corvo is what Justin Roiland played. And then, so when he left, they were like, well, how do you do the show without him being that voice? So they decided to go with a different direction. We all thought watching the show there was just going to be somebody who's going to try and sound like Corvo. They went out of their way and had Corvo had some sort of alteration to him, and now he has a British accent. And Dan Stevens is the voice of Corvo.
Oh, that's great.
In Solar Opposites. Dude, I love this show. I watch it. I watch it
man.
regularly. I had zero idea that Dan Stevens was the British voice of Corvo.
Well, I think that's his real accent. I'm guessing.
I'm sure it
yeah,
is.
because he's from the UK.
But he plays American so often.
Yeah.
He's like Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
And where he had an Australian accent a long time ago, same for what's her name, Nicole Kidman, and they play Americans so often you don't realize they have an accent. I think Mel Gibson just lost it because he's been doing American for so long, but he had an Australian accent 40 years ago.
There's a lot of actors like that. You forget, like
Yes.
Naomi Watts.
That's the other one. I couldn't think of her name, and I was like, let me not dwell. But
Nicole
yes.
Kidman always in a lot of stuff gets rid of her accent too. Christian Bale.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of actors where they're just really good at hiding it.
Yeah.
Dan Stevens is, we covered The Guest last year, I think, and in that film, his accent changes twice.
It does.
We mentioned it in the episode where his voice goes from Southern to just American. Because he's faking the Southern, so he's faking an accent. So
that's
he's
what's
great,
interesting
man.
about the character.
Yeah.
Is the character faking the accent, or is it just him kind of slipping up a little bit? Because it happens.
Yeah.
I see it in Naomi Watts and Nicole Kidman fairly regularly. If you listen for it, you can hear it. Especially it happens a lot of actors, especially when they argue in a film.
Or
when they
cry.
argue and they get loud, their natural voice comes back. I think we mentioned this on what was that the Dream House, where it was Nicole Kidman. Oh damn, what's the James Bond actor? What's his
Daniel
name?
Craig?
Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
And someone else. I think it might have been Naomi Watts as well.
Possibly.
But it basically had 3 different accents, and Daniel Craig was the only one allowed to keep his accent, and everyone else had to be American.
Yeah.
So whenever they're speaking to him, their accents come out full-throated. Can't because they can't do it anymore because they're still listening to his British, which is very close to their Australian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of Australians and Brits would be like, no, it's not. But from our perspective, it's very similar.
Yeah. I mean, and in this, he to go back to Cuckoo.
Yes, yes. Go back.
Dan,
Let's go back.
Dan Stevens,
Please reel me in.
the fact that he, like, this year alone, he went, and I'm guessing that's just going to be his shtick going forward in movies. You know, Australian, New York, German. His 3 performances this year in film, all different accents. And it's a good performance. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the 3 this year. I think my favorite is still Abigail. It's just my opinion, only because of how shitty he was in the movie.
He really was.
He was just a dick at the very end.
He really was.
And then he's just telling everyone, go fuck yourself. And I don't give a fuck about you guys with his really just kind of over the top accent. I think it was New York. I don't think it was Boston, but
Something else I learned from this article, what it says at the bottom. Frank's real name in Abigail is Adam Barrett.
Oh, okay.
Adam
So,
Wingard.
an homage to
Yes,
the guest.
Adam Wingard and
There you go.
yes, Simon Barrett.
I think there. Listen, we have to get
That's
off.
funny.
We have to get off the Dan Stevens, the guest topic, because we're talking about Cuckoo, dude.
Yeah.
I really think they're gonna make another guest movie. I know. I think we both said that they don't.
I know they
to.
want. You said they have the soundtrack.
Yeah,
out.
I
still
have a
listened to that.
sneaking suspicion they're gonna. It's all lining up where it's gonna happen eventually. I have a feeling. So, we'll see. Back to Cuckoo. He's great in
Yes.
it.
He is.
His overall performance is phenomenal, as usual. I think most people, if you're listening to this show and you love horror movies and genre films, you probably more than likely love Dan Stevens as well. And Hunter Schafer too. Just she's great. I said it before, they drive the film. The whole film really relies on these 2 performances to kind of carry it. Now, I think we should get into the ending. We haven't dabbled in what we thought of the ending. Manny, what happens at the end of Cuckoo?
Oh man, really? You want
Yes.
to?
Just dive into the ending.
Okay, so we find out that why am my post has been removed? Weird.
Can't share other people's posts, Manny, I guess.
No, I'm sharing it's my own post.
Oh, really? Interesting.
It's my own post. I tried to get likes and follows in a misleading way. Are you kidding me? It's my own your own what's so misleading about
Thank you. Thank
sharing
you.
sharing the show that we're doing?
Thank you, Instagram and Facebook.
Seriously.
Hey, man, that's social media for you. You're getting
Unbelievable.
Manny's live reaction on the show.
I have been censored live
on the show. Manny's trying to promote the live episode, and they just don't want anyone to listen to us, Manny.
Bastages that they are.
Yeah, that's all it is. They don't want anyone to listen to us. But yes,
all right.
The ending of Cuckoo.
Okay, so we find out that Dan Stevens is running this experimental thing where there is a species of semi-human creatures that he says is endangered. You know, there's very few of them left, and he's trying to keep them alive and propagate them. So this is where the Cuckoo portion of it comes in. These creatures. So they explain a cuckoo bird is a bird that lays its eggs in the nest of another bird and allows that bird to then raise its offspring. Okay. So that's similar to what's happening here, but not exactly. There's a difference is that these physically, this is where it's kind of crazy. The cuckoo woman, which is the creature in the woods, physically implants her eggs inside another woman. And this is what happens with the time loop thing. The creature uses that high-pitched screech to kind of put you in a trance. And the time loop happens, you just keep looping over this, 5 seconds or so, and her making the sound is immune to the loop, so she can continue moving closer to her prey as you're stuck in the loop. And that happens a couple of times. So that's how she kind of traps you in the space. Then the woman that she's using as prey passes out, and she physically drops an egg into her hand. Like you see this, her hand all goopy and ugly, and she actually implants it inside a woman. And then that woman does not remember that happening. It becomes they get like a memory dump. They don't remember it, and that's why they do it inside this lover's bungalow, because they're generally there with another with another man. They're generally with their husband or their boyfriend or something. So the cuckoo will then come, the cuckoo creature will come, implant her egg inside this woman, and then the man will then fertilize it. When they have sex later that night, that is where the child will then come from. It turns out that Gretchen's father and Gretchen's actual mother stayed at this resort years ago as their honeymoon. All right. And years later, when Gretchen's father gets divorced and gets remarried, he takes his new wife there as well. And that is when they implanted the cuckoo inside his new wife. So Gretchen's stepsister is a cuckoo child. And they don't call it a cuckoo. I'm just for clarity. Yeah. For clarity, I'm just
Well, the way that they explain it, they compare it to the bird, so that's why we're calling.
Oh, and
Dan
Stevens' character has an obsession. He's got cuckoo birds everywhere. There's posters, there's statues. When you watch the film, there are cuckoos everywhere.
Yeah, they sprinkle them throughout the whole film. You see them, little statues, little pictures of them, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say. So, in your honest opinion, do you think they explain this clearly to the audience?
No, I do think that I think that there is a little meh to it. There's a little like, what the hell's going on?
So
yeah, it's not very clear. No,
it's not.
I think it's understandable, but
it almost feels like the movie was longer and was shaved off.
Possibly.
And I say that because even the way you're explaining the ending, that's almost verbatim how it's explained in exposition mostly. Yeah, there's visual cues, but all these visual, like you said, her using her eggs and I guess putting it into the other mother. It's all visual, and in all those visuals, you're literally like, "What the fuck?" That's all you could tell yourself. It's like, "Wait, what the fuck?"
And it all falls together in the end, which is what I really like about it. That it actually does come together once you realize what's actually going on. There's a lot of little clues. Like there's even a conversation earlier where Gretchen's trying to freak out the other girl, what's her name, Beth, who works in the hotel with her. She tries to freak her out, like, "Oh, she's not my little sister." She had her own sister, and she swallowed her twin. You know, and the twin absorbed with the twin murder syndrome or whatever it is. And she's explaining it to the girl, trying to freak her out. She's trying to say it in the most like kind of crazy way, which is something that happens. One twin absorbs another. She actually does that, and she's doing it purposely to kind of mess with the other girl. But if you really think about it, that's what the cuckoo does.
Yeah.
It takes over the nest. So yes, she would have had a twin, but the cuckoo child ate its own twin so that it is the only child. And there's all these little breadcrumbs throughout the whole film that culminate in the ending. And it's like, wow, it is a little hard to follow. I'll 100% give you that. There are some of it that's just like, what the hell? Like the fact that that Gretchen's actual mother and father came here on their honeymoon. I didn't pick up on that until my second time seeing it.
I see. I didn't notice that. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that at all.
That's the picture. Remember when Gretchen, she steals a picture and she sticks it in her back pocket? Yeah. That's her actual mother and father with Koenig on their honeymoon. So that's when the father met Koenig and the father got in business. The father is part of this. That's why he's building more of this. He's part of it. So basically, Koenig roped his father into this when they were on their honeymoon. Lynn, she thought, so does that mean that Gretchen, and this is a possibility, that maybe Gretchen is a cuckoo child as well? But we learned that the cuckoo child is not fully activated until the mother is reunited. Unlike cuckoo birds let the other bird raise the young, and then they disappear. This Cuckoo mother comes back for the child and completes its development by their proximity to each other. And that's that's what happens in the ending. But Lynn said she thinks it's possible that Gretchen is also a Cuckoo child, but was never activated because the mother kept her away the from the resort. And that was her thought.
So the mother was like protecting her almost,
yes,
keeping her away. Yeah.
her mother kept her away from being
I can see
activated.
that now. Now that you're
Yeah.
you're telling me this, I can see maybe on a second watch picking up on the small details throughout the film.
I think it's possible.
It's implied, maybe.
But yeah, I don't think that's true though, simply because Koenig did not expect her to be here. I think that if she were a Cuckoo child, the father would have told him, "I'm bringing them both back."
Yeah, they probably had her after their visit.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just my thought on it. But anyway, so in the end of the film now, we have the stepsister there. The stepmother passes out and the father takes her home, assumingly, because in the beginning of the film, we have one Cuckoo child who escapes and they say she escaped early. So we see her through the course of the film. She isn't fully activated. She's not 100% Cuckoo yet because she left the nest before the Cuckoo mother came for her. So, we are now going to combine the stepdaughter with the Cuckoo mother and activate her fully. So we have her basically in this time. They open the door, they're going to come in. This is the only part of the film that I did not like and I do not understand. There's literally only one question I have, and this is the question. Is at this point, the Cuckoo child, the stepdaughter, is there tied up, and the assistants open the door for the Cuckoo mother to come in and assimilate. Essentially, she's going to finish her transformation into one of them. At this point, there is a police officer. We don't really need to get into that. There's a cop who's helping Gretchen to try to get. The cop wants to end this whole thing because his wife was a victim of this experiment. Gretchen wants to get her younger sister back, and they're on one side of the double-sided of the double pane. There's basically in a room. There's two sets of double pane glass. Gretchen's on that side. The experimenters are on this side, so they can't see each other. For some fucking reason, and I do not understand this, Dan Stevens shows up, kills his own assistants. And ends the experiment, even though he is hell-bent on completing the experiment.
He goes full psycho at the very end with the machine gun, literally.
Makes no sense. I do not understand. He walks in and he says to his assistant, those recordings you were doing behind my back, are they still in a box under the stairs? And the assistant gives him that look like, how did you know about that?
Yeah.
And she says yes. And he blows her away with a shot with a gun, and he kills the other assistant. What the fuck are these? This is what goes to you, where you said, I think that there was something edited out of this. What are these recordings? What the hell is he talking about? And why is he suddenly killing his assistants that were completing the experiments that he wanted completed?
Yeah,
there is no point in the story where it seems that they are going away from his orders.
Yeah, when I was watching the movie, and even you explaining it now, it comes off as super convoluted.
It makes no sense.
It's all over the place. And
Yeah,
I know the film, watching the film, obviously,
it's very confusing.
You pick up on stuff while you watch it.
Yeah.
It's a movie. But there are certain points, and that was I loved the movie, and I'll say it here. I did like Cuckoo. I did enjoy it. It will be in my top 10 probably for 2024. I don't know where yet. The year's not over. But I did enjoy the film a lot. But there's a certain point where it just swerves down a dark alley, and I'm like, where? Like, you mentioned the recordings. You don't even pick up on that. You mention it now, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. He does say that in dialogue. Yeah. But when you're watching it, it goes right over your head because there's no... It's never mentioned earlier. It's not mentioned afterwards. You don't really ever get to kind of sit Dan Stevens' character, you never get to sit with him by himself with his scientist, and I think that was done on purpose, and understand his end goal. You're told what his end goal is in dialogue and exposition, but you never see it. You never see him figuring shit out. Yeah. And that was kind of my main issue with the movie. And it feels like his stuff is what was cut out of the movie. And that's not just me loving Dan Stevens. That's just and wanting could always use more of him in a movie.
I definitely think something was missing. I felt that moment where he turns on the assistants. The first time I watched it, I walked out of the theater and I said, I love that, but why the hell did he turn on the, what did I miss? Did I miss something?
I don't think you missed anything.
Well, that's the point. Exactly. I went into it the second time, like as we left the car and I was walking toward the theater, and I said to her, I said, okay, I got to keep this in mind throughout the film. Why did he turn on the assistants? Is there something I missed? Was there something that happened sooner? And I watched the whole film the second time with that in mind. It does not occur.
Yeah, and
there is no point in the film that makes you know why he does that.
The female doctor, like the head doctor, she introduces herself to Gretchen at one point. And I feel like that is what was cut out of the film. We might be wrong. Everything might be in it. I could easily see this movie being like 2.5 hours.
That explanation is not in there, I promise you.
Or 2:15. It feels like they cut maybe 20 minutes out of this movie. That's what it feels like to me, 15, 20 minutes, because of all of the science stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they want to go the body horror route with certain aspects of the film. With
it is very Cronenberg. It's very The Brood.
But even The Brood explains the experiments and why it's...
I wouldn't even go that far.
I wouldn't go... But I think
some of The Brood at the end is still like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, you're still... With the giant thing, yes, I agree. The little kids wearing the winter coats. There are aspects of that movie, but I do think that's a good comparison, The Brood and
100%.
Cuckoo.
Yeah.
But I even think in The Brood, you kind of get a better sense of what... The
Brood was not as convoluted. That's the thing. There's not as many moving parts in The Brood.
No, there's not. I think with this, they were shoving a lot into...
Which is funny to say.
Yeah, I know.
Cronenberg has less moving parts than this.
The Brood isn't convoluted at all.
And it's less convoluted than this.
Listen, dude. A lot of Cronenberg stuff. It's like a parasite, and that's all you need to know. Listen,
that's it.
I love when horror films are ambiguous. And
I think that's what it is about the difference between this and like a Cronenberg film is that at some point, Cronenberg still makes the film where even if you don't fully understand it, you get it, and it's okay. The science can go over your head, and it doesn't really matter. Yeah. It's more for it's there to enhance the experience, but you can follow the film. I do feel that there are a lot, and I've heard this from a couple people, that this kind of went over, like they didn't know what was going on. And I think that is the real only fault that some people may find with this. That's why we say comparing it to Cronenberg is less convoluted, is that there are moments in this where it's like, if you miss it, you're lost. You're just lost. Yeah. And I think Cronenberg is... I think that's just plain and simple his storytelling experience. He knows how to tell a story that's convoluted, but if you miss a few parts, you still kind of got it.
And with
that's just time and experience that does that.
And with Cuckoo, I feel, not, and I don't like comparing directors. It's kind of, everyone's got their own vision and their own kind of style. And Cronenberg, everyone's influenced by Cronenberg. All these filmmakers are influenced by him, obviously, with these type of films. Anything involving a parasite, cloning, gooey substances, explosions, and all this. And this isn't a very violent film. We should say that right now. It's not very gory. There's some gore in it, but it's not a bloodbath or anything like that. Abigail was a lot gorier than this. Decapitations and stuff. There's none of that. There's a couple of slit throats, gunshot wounds,
but the effects in this are very good, effective.
And we didn't touch on.
I don't mean to compare it to Cronenberg like that, like in that way. But it's just a matter of by the time he got to The Brood, the guy had 10, 12 years of filmmaking under. That's what I'm saying. He was older by the time he got to that level of film of storytelling. He'd had a bunch of film. Shivers is confusing as fuck.
People love Scanners, and Scanners there's so much science mumbo jumbo.
No idea what's going on in some of Scanners.
And I love Scanners, so there you go. So I'm not
Sorry, I didn't
mad
mean
at
to
the,
go
no,
back to that.
I'm not mad at
No.
the direction this film went. I just feel that the last 15 minutes really just went off the rails. I understand what was happening. I get it. And we didn't talk about the creature, the main Cuckoo, much, and I think we should a little bit right here before we close out. But I feel like, okay, they had a beginning, a middle, and the end they were still working on right until like they were still working on that ending right until they had to start shooting principal photography, because it just feels that way. You know, I'm sitting in the theater, the wife, she looks at me. She loves Dan Stevens for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's like, you know, I like the movie because it's Dan Stevens, and she likes Euphoria, so Hunter Schafer, and so beautifully shot film. The scene, you know, we talked about this, the world building, the resort, and even she looked at me and she said, "What the hell's going on here?"
What's going on?
She's like, "I understand that this creature is impregnating women to continue on this species so it doesn't go extinct, and that's Dan Stevens. He's the Dr. Frankenstein. He wants to keep this creature going, and so it doesn't just die out, you know, with just conceiving more and more of them. But I wish," and she even said this to me, she goes, "I wish they would have just shown more of the why. Why is he doing this?
Yeah,
What's the, you know, and that's what's missing." And even you saying, it's like, why did he kill those women? Why did this happen? You never find out. And that was my biggest gripe with Cuckoo is why? Why? Listen, I love stuff that's ambiguous. We don't need everything spelled out for us. But even a scene or two showing his desperation. It's only at the very end where he's shooting people and you know.
But you don't know why he's shooting them. That's
exactly.
The point.
And that's the whole point of what I'm saying.
I don't know why he killed them. I said, I said to her, I said, if we had to have a moment where we kill the other doctors just to get them out of the way, you could have had the cop do it. You could have had the cop kill, because his plan is to kill them all anyway. So you could have had the cop show up, walk in, and shoot them both, and then hide in the other room waiting for Dan Stevens to show up so that he can kill him then. It would have been that simple. Yeah. And then Dan Stevens would have, because even that, after he kills them, so the two doctors open the door for the Cuckoo mother to come in, and then he shoots them and then closes the door. Why? I thought your purpose was to activate this young girl. Why are you suddenly stopping the experiment?
It's a weird.
It doesn't make any sense. You know,
I don't want us to like focus. I feel like, you know, we did this last time with Long Legs and Maxine. It's like, I don't want us to focus on the negative too much, because we both enjoyed this movie, and I feel like
I do think though that this is where a lot of people are losing the film. I've seen a lot of people say they love it. Yeah, they love it, but it's confusing or just. And I think that this is the point right here. Why does he shift at the end of the film? Why? And I think it's really just missing. I said I watched it twice. It's not there. And the answer is not there.
And with horror, the suspense, the ending is so vital. So many people will love a movie, but if they hate the ending, they'll shit on it or never watch it again.
Yes.
I mean, that sucked, you know, something like that. So I think that's where Cuckoo sort of sits. It's a great film, but at a certain point it starts to lose itself. It's almost, and you know what's weird? I wouldn't even call this
due to just a deleted scene. It really could be.
Wouldn't even call this a pretentious film. It's not.
No.
This is this is a movie that is entertaining. It is
be
well
honest,
crafted.
This is kind of why I prefer Neon films versus A24. I know there's kind of this war going on between the people like, oh, do you like this? But the fact is, Neon and A24 make very similar films. But A24 does tend to go in that very pretentious route with a lot of their films, especially with the marketing of everything.
It's what you think of when you think of art house. It's A24 is what you think of.
Neon, they do art house films too, but they don't, like, you watched The Witch, and the trailers made The Witch look like this crazy, off the wall, like, scariest horror movie ever. And then you watch this film where people are speaking in Old English and half the dialogue you can't even understand. The entire first few minutes of the film where they're excommunicated from the town. I've watched that 3 times. I have zero idea of what the hell they said.
It's just like the ending of
Not,
Cuckoo.
not
Just
one
kidding.
clue of what they said to
yeah,
each
yeah.
other in the beginning of that scene.
Yeah.
You know?
And
I think that that's indicative of a lot of A24. It's kind of like
For
I
sure.
literally have no clue what's going on.
I get that. I respect that opinion. It's
A24, I think, leans into the horror a little
Yeah,
more.
I don't love all of A24 stuff. I would say this movie.
Neon's killing it this year.
Oh, they are, dude. And I think they're gonna kill it next year from the looks of things.
Yep.
But I feel that this movie, it's just that it's the last. I'm telling you, I said it. Like, I feel like I've said it 3 times. Last 15 minutes of the movie, last 15, 20 minutes of the movie is where it starts to. I wouldn't say it falls off the cliff and it's terrible. It just needed some work. I feel like the script or the edit, something was either removed or just not included.
I just think something's missing. That's it. Yeah, it wasn't even bad. It was just something's missing. There's an explanation that needs.
And we kind
wait
of
for that Blu-ray.
Yeah,
see if there's some deleted scenes.
Dude, like I said, it feels like this movie and the the idea of it being not a pretentious film. I think that was done on purpose. We want to market this film to mass audience.
Yeah.
So we don't need you. We don't need a shot of a room and a woman's like a little kid sitting on the bed for 5 minutes and nothing happens.
We don't need 12 minutes of a guy sweeping a goddamn floor.
Exactly. So we don't need that. So get to the point.
Yeah.
Get to the end goal. Dan Stevens trying to keep this creature alive, trying to reproduce it by using these women to give birth to the offspring of it. You know, and that's it. And it's really honestly when you repeat that, that is the plot of Cuckoo.
That's it.
But the science behind it
4 months ago.
I know.
I
said the science behind it is not explained, and that's where people are just kind of like, oh, this is weird. It's not weird. It's just the execution is, I wouldn't say poor, but a little subpar in the final product.
I even do say that now that I think about it, the aspect of the girl in the beginning that ran away, the fact that she wasn't activated yet, that's another thing I didn't pick up on until the second viewing. Because I was just like, okay,
I didn't pick up on that
why
at
is
all.
he? Yeah. I didn't realize it. In the second viewing, I was like, oh, that's what it is. Because they say it in the beginning, you know, there's a conversation that happens over the phone, and he says the mother needs an adolescent or she's going to lose it, which is what happens to the stepdaughter's mother at the end, the stepmother at the end, when she starts twitching and freaking out because the daughter is now being separated from her and brought to the Cuckoo mother. So now she's freaking out. She needs an adolescent, which is what, again, something I've realized on second viewing, that the father is probably now going to, this is why the mother and father disappear for the rest of the film. The father's now going to take her back to their house and probably give her another Cuckoo egg.
Yeah. You're right.
You know,
Impregnate
he's
her
going to
again.
do this again. Yeah. I think these are things that I noticed on second viewing. And I think that's why I actually liked it a little bit more the second time, because I'm picking up on more of that stuff. You know, I think this is a film that's going to get better with it when you start to see more of the breadcrumbs make sense. You know, and that's kind of how I feel.
As soon as I left the theater, that's what I told myself. I need to sit through this
I need to see this again.
And not in the way I felt about Maxine. Maxine was more, I got to see this again to see if I actually like this movie or not.
Yeah.
It was more of like, I want to watch it a second time to better critique it. Because, you know, when you watch it, when you're excited to see a movie in the theater, your expectations are up here.
Yeah.
So my expectations were slowly dwindling while watching that. Whereas with Cuckoo, my expectations weren't dwindling. I was just confused at a certain point.
It was still good. Like, I'm enjoying this. I'm fucking lost, but I love it.
Where are you going, Cuckoo? So that's why I want to watch it a second time, to better understand what they were trying to say. Before we wrap it up here, the creature. I love how it wears a wig.
The girl. It's they call it the girl in the trench coat. The girl in the coat.
The girl in the coat, I think, is what they say.
The hooded woman.
The hooded woman. I love the glasses. I love the wig. It's an obvious wig.
Yeah.
It's trying to look human, which is kind of odd and bizarre, because it's not a traditional monster, but it has a monster-esque features because the jaw kind of opens up wide. It's got weird skin and the eyes glow red. So it's not human, but it sort of looks human. And some of that shot that we talked about earlier when it's running through the woods, chasing her, and there's a couple of shots where you see it in a doorway or it tries to attack Gretchen where you're like, oh shit, what the hell is this ugly thing? You know, so I did enjoy that. I don't see enough people talking about the cuckoo creature, about the woman in the coat or the woman in the hood. Most people are talking about the ending, the reviews I've seen that are non-spoiler. They're not talking about, at least what I've seen, they're not talking about the creature. Because I think, like, the character has its own poster art. Yeah. And it's a cool design. It looks like a middle-aged woman there's something uncanny valley and odd about it. Not in the Nicolas Cage long legs way, just more in the a little creepy, and you're almost taken back by the cuckoo monster, by the cuckoo creature. And I dug that a lot. I really did like that, especially at the very end when it's making the weird noises and Hunter Schafer's underneath the bookcase.
Yeah.
And it's like just that high-pitched screech. It's unnerving.
It is. I do have one question. How loud was your theater?
It's pretty loud.
Because, I mean, when I watched it in this, it wasn't very loud.
Yeah.
At Overlook, holy crap.
They were
I
bumping
could
it.
feel it. Like, when that screech, you could feel it. I was kind of disappointed. I saw it at AMC. I was like, this really wasn't very loud. They
didn't bump it up. They had to.
Yeah. But I watched, which is funny because we watched Deadpool Wolverine last night, and oh my, that was booming loud. Yes. Of course, they made that one loud, but
you could hear every chest hair on Hugh Jackman's chest,
everything,
popping.
Every one of them. You could hear it all.
Yeah, you could hear every bulge and smack of the ass in Deadpool versus Wolverine.
I'm wondering something else now that I'm thinking about it, and because I said it to myself during the movie, but I said no, that's not possible. But I'm still considering it. So there was we see the photo that she steals, and we see the photo, and there's at the end when the cuckoo mother dies and she takes the wig off, Gretchen kind of lays there and they look at and she just looks at her. And I'm sitting here trying to get a really good look at her, and I'm saying to myself, is the cuckoo woman Gretchen's actual mother?
It's like an It Follows thing. And It Follows, one of the forms of the thing looks like her father, but they don't tell you that outright. You have to notice in photos and stuff. There's a chance. I wouldn't know until I watched the movie a second time.
I don't think so. I don't think that makes
something
sense.
To look for. But I mean, something to look for.
I didn't think about it until the second time, so I'm like, fuck, now I got to watch it a third time to get a really good look at the photo.
There's a reason why it looks like a middle-aged woman. There's got to be a reason why it looks like that. So it is a possibility.
I think it's mostly, because it's also got to be old enough in order to be her stepsister's mother.
Yeah.
So this thing has to be old enough for that, and has to be old enough. Yeah, it has to be an adult in order to have done that. So this is why I'm looking over here. I'm trying to find, I'm Googling to find the family photo that she stole, and I can't find it because clearly the movie hasn't been out that long.
The movie's brand new, dude.
There's no one listed on IMDb as Gretchen's mother.
No, they're keeping
it.
Listed. They're keeping it a secret. When you look at the character for even the hooded woman,
it's just called a hooded woman.
So there's a reason why they did that.
Yeah,
a third watch,
no
man.
Actress listed as the mother.
A third watch and a whole lot of pausing is what you're gonna have to do to confirm this. We're gonna have to have
we have Beth, Alma, Lewis, who's the father, Henry, who's the cop, Dr. Bonomo, Eric. There's the drivers,
Quite possible. It's the mom.
Yeah.
Same actress, maybe.
I don't think so, because that wouldn't make sense. If they did it, that would be kind of cool, but it didn't make any fucking sense.
I mean, it would be really cool.
Confusing. It would be really cool, but it would be even more like, okay, this really makes no sense.
Unless they just use the same actor in the photo and as the woman in the hood.
Why would you do that?
I mean, just because you can't really tell the glasses, the red eyes, the wig.
That's the same problem I have with Maxine, is why use the same actress if there's no direct connection?
We already talked about Maxine.
I know
so
that. But I'm saying like that's my answer to this. Like, why would you use the same actress without there being a direct connection?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think I think it's possible, because I don't see an actor listed, which is crazy. You know,
It was done on
everyone
purpose.
else.
It was done on purpose for sure. So,
Yeah.
but yes, closing thoughts, Manny, on Cuckoo.
Still my number one film of the year.
Oh wow.
This walking out of Overlook, it was my top. I loved it, and that was in April. And I've been hoping. I thought Long Legs could come close to like touching this. This is still my number one. Long Legs is like my number 6 or 7 right now.
Okay.
You know, yeah, this is still my top film of the year. I enjoyed the living hell out of it, even with that big plot hole. It was just so cool. I loved it. And like I said, watching it the second time, picking up on more things, seeing more connections that I did not notice. Yeah, I fucking love it. I love this movie.
Yeah. I can confidently say that I enjoyed this more than Maxine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I enjoyed it more than Long Legs. And when we do our recap in a few months, we'll get into why.
I think that our opinions on this and Long Legs are swapped.
I think so too.
Which is funny because the other day when we went to go see this, sitting on the porch at home was a box, a DVD delivery. I got the Blu-ray of Candyland. So the day I went to go see this again, I got the Blu-ray of my number one movie from last year.
That's funny. I dug it. I think the performances are solid. There is no bad acting in this. It's beautifully shot. It's I wouldn't call it a suspenseful film, but there are a couple of moments like they could have upped the suspense and kind of certain scenes I feel needed to be. It's not a scary movie. That's probably a better way of articulating it.
No.
But I think the story's interesting. You can see that it wears its influences on its sleeve. We mentioned Cronenberg. And unfortunately, I have to wait a little while to give it a second watch. But I said it before, it's in my top 10. It's up there. I don't know where yet.
Yeah.
Year's not over. But I did like it more than Maxine, for sure. Abigail, I'm not sure yet. I haven't rewatched Abigail if I liked it more than Abigail.
Whoa.
But an Alien,
Gonna be a while, buddy.
and Alien is not out yet. And that's I'm hearing that it's fantastic. So
I think that's the other the next one that I think might be close to it. But
Yes.
For everyone, Cuckoo is coming to Hulu in January.
son of a bitch.
So if you want to see
Yes.
Cuckoo, go see it in the theater. I've been telling people since April, this is a theater film.
Yeah.
It is finally out. Go see it in theaters.
And Dan
Go fucking see it.
Stevens rules as always. So
Yep.
that's still
Go see it.
2024 has been his year. But yes, that's our thoughts on Cuckoo. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Haunted Hangover. Head over to hauntedhangover.com where you can find links to everything, including our Patreon page, where you get early access to normal episodes of the podcast, bonus episodes. Got lots of stuff planned for the Halloween season coming up the next 2 months. Couple of spooky season themed live episodes coming up for September and October. So keep an eye out for those. Rate and review us. It'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, remember, the best cure for a hangover is
More booze.
which you're out of.
I'm out of.
And wait a
Empty.
second. Someone wants to say something to close out the show here. Where is he? Our boy.
Jeez.
Here
Our
he
boy,
is.
The third host.
Yes.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Thank you, Busta Rhymes.
Is my key to the hotel.
There you go.
That's my key to the hotel. I don't have Dan Stevens' hotel. I got to go to this one.
Damn it, the Overlook. Just as bad.